TV, the channel remains steady front against sectarian Houthis. Houthi militia pushes for further escalation in the new year 2023. Displaced people in Hodeidah demand international agencies to increase aid in winter. Welcome to Yemen Today TV. This is the English news of me, Shaza Abdelbain. On the 11th anniversary of Yemen Today TV, the leadership as well as the staff reaffirmed their commitment to being a steady front against the Houthi militia, which adopts nothing but sectarian and hate speech. This report has more details.
Yemen Today was there in Hujur, where the tribes continued the march of the popular uprising against the priesthood and revealed the ugliness of the Houthi aggression that besieged the tribesmen, prevented them from food and water, and targeted women and children with the sniper bullets and heavy weapons in a brutal manner that violates all human rights. Among the disruptive chaos, Yemen Today channel started its historical achievements of the national struggle in the Republic of Yemen and made its way amid the hatred and calls for sectarian ideologies, resisting the storm of chaos and relying on people who were tossed by the winds of the militia and the sound of weapons and destruction. This is how Yemen Today began the path of 11 years, and yet the message of Yemen didn't stop to continue its career with all professionalism and competence, and to draw in the midst of darkness a ray of hope. Also in Al-Bayda and among Al-Awad tribes, Yemen Today was present there in reporting the facts of what is happening in terms of crimes and violations committed by the Houthi militia against the sons of the tribes who went on in the uprising against the group that Iran created. The Houthi oppression of the media, the siege imposed on freedoms, and the increasing violations of rights, all these and other manifestations of the Houthi militia's abuse of media were the channel's priority, the message of its workers and the voice of their conscience before their tongue. The uprising and popular discontent continue against the practices of the priestly militia, and Yemen Today among the citizens transmits the truth by sound and image, and by honest word, out of belief in the leader's commandments, and an affirmation that the uprising continues until the restoration of state institutions, the restoration of dignity to the Republic of Yemen, and the gains of the revolution and unity.
In Taiz, dozens of citizens conducted a protest in front of the local authority building to condemn the killing of one citizen. The citizen was killed by Omar Saeed, a member of the military brigade. Protesters called on the local military and security authorities in Taiz to hand over the criminal to the public prosecution office.
The criminal Omar Saeed came to my cousin's home to assault him in front of his family. He asked for money, and when my cousin refused, he killed him without mercy. He shot him with countless bullets, which resulted in his immediate death. We now call for the verdict of the killer, as he killed my cousin in front of his family.
A child was injured by Houthi snipers in a valley west of Taiz. A local source said that the child was injured by a Houthi sniper while she was in front of her house in Wadi Amman. The sources stated that she was transferred to a hospital in the city. Houthis seem to push the conflict in Yemen for further escalation in the new year 2023. This appears in the rebels' rejection of all regional and international efforts to renew the truce. This report has more details.
A horrific 8-year-old conflict has ravaged Yemen since the Houthi rebel militia attacked the country's state institutions in Sana'a and the presidential compound in September 2014, triggering one of the worst humanitarian crises in the world. During 2022, several rounds of negotiations between Yemen's government and the Houthis, which were held under the auspices of the UN, brought a fragile ceasefire for several months. Yemen's warring parties are gearing up for new waves of conflict in 2023, amid lack of decisive steps towards sustainable peace, adding to the sufferings of millions of people living in the war-ravaged Arab country. The UN-brokered humanitarian ceasefire had first come into effect on the 2nd of April 2022 and was renewed several times. However, the warring parties failed to reach an agreement to extend the deal in October. After the ceasefire expired, the Houthis intensified their operations and started attacking the country's economic facilities, particularly oil ports, controlled by the Saudi-backed Yemeni government in Hadramaut and other neighboring provinces. The Houthis repeatedly hit with explosive-loaded drones key government-controlled oil ports, including Dabba and Hadramaut, and vowed to carry out more attacks in the future. The attacks have made it difficult for Yemeni government to export crude oil. On November 21st, Yemeni Prime Minister Ma'in Abdul Malik called for resolute international action in response to the Houthi militia's terrorist attacks on his country's oil ports, noting that the rebels' dangerous escalation also poses a threat to international navigation safety, despite the fact that the international community has called for resuming peace talks to bring an end to Yemen's catastrophic years-long conflict. The Houthis have recently mobilized their fighters to attack the government-controlled provinces. In the past 48 hours, a new wave of fighting erupted in the country's southern region of El Dola between Yemen's government forces and the Houthi rebel militia. The indications on the ground and the escalating tensions between the two warring sides, in addition to the military preparations and mobilizations, all show that the situation is moving towards more violence during 2023.
The air defenses of the joint forces shot down a Houthi drone in Hodeidah. Military sources said that the air defenses managed to shoot down a militia drone while it was flying over citizens' homes on the outskirts of Hais. This is the third operation of shooting down a Houthi drone in the region in less than a week. The Houthi militia in Al-Mahwit issued a death sentence for 6 people from the governorate. It included 3 teachers who were kidnapped 7 years ago and subjected them to brutal torture. Al-Mahwit Media Center stated that the Specialized Criminal Court for the Houthi militia issued death sentences on 3 who were kidnapped in Houthi prisons. A violent explosion rocked the city of Aden and flames of smoke were seen rising from the site of the explosion. Local sources said that the explosion took place in Al-Nasr neighborhood in Arish, where 2 camps of the security belt, the Coast Guard and the Ministry of Interior are located. Ambulances were seen rushing to the site of the explosion. The suffering of the displaced people aggravates in winter. In Hodeidah, displaced people have called on the international agencies to increase aid as they don't have basic necessities. This report has more details.
The displaced people here are waiting for their turn to obtain emergency shelter that protects them from the cold of winter and the quirks of nature in their places of displacement. Some international organizations have provided relief aid during the months of November and December in support of those affected by the war who left their homes located near the front lines to escape the hell of war and got displaced in the liberated areas in the liberated countryside of Hais in search of refugee and safety.
We need a lot of things. We need tents. We are suffering a lot during winter and this cold weather. Humanitarian organizations come from time to provide aid, but we are still in severe need.
Although these materials did not fulfill what was required due to the density of the displaced in the countryside of Hais, they contributed to alleviating the suffering of many families who found no choice but to go to the places of displacement, amid calls for organizations to intensify support and double efforts to support the displaced people. Many of the displaced are standing here in front of the grievance box, hoping to find a justice for them, as they were forcibly displaced by the war and its repercussions.
We had to leave our homes and come here. We are homeless now. We live in tents with no doors and no windows. We are currently suffering a lot from extreme cold that we are facing in this area. Some people got their names picked from the box and others didn't. Since I got displaced till this moment, I have received no aid at all and my family is suffering a lot.
The suffering of the displaced in southern Hodeidah is intensifying day after day, especially during the winter season as they need more humanitarian and relief support. Real shelter, shelter materials, food and humanitarian aid are the most prominent needs of the displaced during this period. The bitter cold strikes their tents from time to time, in addition to the seasonal diseases that accompany the nature of the region and kill their children. Powerlessly, the simple displaced person pays a heavy price for the war, and there is no salvation for them except to suffer from the unjust war.
Coming next in the news. Due to the conflict, Yemenis across the country face problem of free movement among the cities.
ناس ندي ماء من الغلا والغلا بعيد، كنا ندي بالدواب نعبي ماء وترجعنا. كنا ننزل الساعة 5 رجعنا الساعة 9.
ما يجي لنا ظهر لأن زحمة ما حد يخلي الجهل يغرق، وإحنا تعبنا زيادة.
وكنت أحس صدري يوجعني وعز قدرك ركبي يوجعيني.
كنا ما نستخدم حتى نغسل أولادنا إلا يعني بأيام معدودة.
كنت أغيب على المدرسة لأن كنت أروح الديمة.
حتى وإن كان يجي الأمطار تروح هدر لأنه ما في معيار الزمن.
الوقت نشتري ب 30,000 مع هستيلك ما يغلقش معها الشهر.
بس راح تطلب الله ولا أي حاجة، عاملة كل شغلك الماء.
Welcome back. In Taz, the National Foundation for Cancer Control organized a marathon to launch awareness campaign for cancer patients. It started in front of the temporary governorate building of the Hope Center for Cancer Treatment. This came to deliver a message to the community to mobilize efforts and support for the benefit of cancer patients on one hand, and to consider sports as one of the means of preventing cancer on the other hand.
We're launching today the monthly campaign which targets the attention of the society towards cancer patients. We need to convey a message of awareness against this disease, and of course sport is the only way for protection. The foundation has organized this event with the cooperation of the Ministry of Youth to spread the awareness of sports and protection. We hope to see the next generation aware and armed with the education in sports.
The program of Building Yemen's Youth Future concluded in Aden, in which more than 600 people graduated. This report has more details.
The program of Building the Future for Yemeni Youth for the Development and Reconstruction of Yemen was concluded in Aden with the graduation of 687 young men and women. It was funded by the Saudi program SDRPY and Al Walid Humanitarian Foundation. The graduation ceremony of the program, which was implemented by the Yemen Foundation for Training and Employment, included 3 tracks: training for employment, self-employment, and work tracks. The program had an important role in graduating 687 young men and women, as it comes within SDRPY projects and initiatives, and its efforts in various sectors and fields, including building capacities and cadres in Yemen, through which it contributed to the transfer of expertise, the development of competencies, and the support of the youth of both genders in obtaining a better standard of living. It targeted young men and women looking for work with the aim of the employment and connecting them to workplaces with many private sectors partnerships, linking beneficiaries with job opportunities and enabling them to start their small projects. The program included many training and rehabilitation workshops that contributed to enhancing the skills of the beneficiaries and linking them with potential employers, including psychological support, enhancing skills in workplaces, apprenticeships, information technology, and the English language. Building the Future for Yemeni Youth program is one of 224 development projects and initiatives implemented by SDRPY in various Yemeni governorates to serve the Yemeni citizens in 7 basic sectors, including education, health, water, energy, transportation, agriculture, and fisheries, and capacity building of government institutions, in addition to development programs, transferring experiences and developing competencies, and supporting youth to obtain a better standard of living and a higher ability to withstand social stability to confront various challenges and alleviate or limit their effects will enhance the livelihood of the Yemeni people throughout Yemen.
The Yemeni economy witnessed an increase in the poverty gap. hunger, and unemployment. The Yemeni economy witnessed repercussions due to the Russian-Ukraine war, which caused the supply chains to stop. The supply of wheat decreased in Yemen, which caused its prices to rise by 30% compared to what it was before the outbreak of the war. The Yemeni government approved the establishment of a port in Al-Mahra. The Council of Ministers approved a project to issue bonds to reduce support on overdrafts and regulate public commitment. The cabinet approved a note of understanding for cooperation between Yemen and the UAE regarding the establishment of a joint investment project in the telecommunications sector. Over the 8 years of the war, Yemenis have suffered restriction of movement and travel across the governorates. Major roads have been closed and people have to take other ways, which can be very dangerous. This report has more details.
The suffering of citizens increases in moving between the Yemeni governorates, as the distances are no longer the ones they used to, but rather have become a threat to their lives. Ma'rib al-Jawf Road, which leads to Sana'a, is known today as the Road of Death due to its desert nature. This road has become an option for travelers after the paved road was cut off.
Since 2022 till now, the roads of Ma'rib and Al-Falaj and Al-Bayda have become closed, as well as the road of Ma'rib Sirwah Sana'a. This limits freedom of movement, which is a human right that citizens have been denied by the parties of the war. Citizens are forced to take unsafe desert roads that take 12 hours instead of 2 hours.
This is how the scenes look as you cross these places for hours and days, facing the fortifications in the desert and passing by them if you are lucky enough to cross the right path, and may God save you from the bandits. Travelers and commercial trucks are suffering on the road, as some people end up in horrific accidents and spoil their products, as is the case with the owner of vehicles. Many who travel on those open deserts, as reaching Sana'a or Al-Jawf is a dangerous destination that exposes travelers to many threats, the most serious of which is death, as many crimes have already occurred on these roads.
The desert road is hard to drive and we are exposed to bandits. I drive for 6 hours. We hope that the paved line from Sana'a to Ma'rib will open for us. Yemenis suffer from blocking roads by the Houthi militia. Travelers from Aden to Ma'rib, for example, are forced to pass around several cities in Al-Bayda, Damar, Sana'a, and then Al-Jawf to Ma'rib. The roads are cut off and the desert road is dangerous.
During the past years, the war has produced various difficulties for citizens in various aspects of life, including displacement, the deterioration of the economic situation, the destruction of the nation's institutions, in addition to the blockade of many main roads and the absence of job opportunities, which makes the opportunity for life seems challenging and makes life harder for citizens due to the continuation of war and displacement.
Here is a reminder of the main headlines. On the 11th anniversary of Yemen Today TV, the channel remains steady front against sectarian Houthis. Houthi militia pushes for further escalation in the new year 2023. Displaced people in Hudaydah demand international agencies to increase aid in winter. This is the end of the news. Thank you for watching.